All right. It's 6 o'clock and I'll call the meeting to order for the Wells Springs Unified Union School District. And we'll begin with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First order of business is to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Amanda. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. On to general public comment. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak? All right. Moving on to consent agenda. So we have the minutes and warrants. Warrant 413, 415, and the minutes of July 9th. And I think we can approve the consent agenda all in one.
I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda.
I heard Sue first. Any discussion? Any questions? Amanda?
I just had a question on warrant 413. There's the usual control tech contracts, but then on 415, there's an HVAC repair charge at the bottom for Plouffe's boiler and mechanical, and then also a dishwasher repair for wells from them as well. And on 417, there's a control tech charge for a heat pump leak for 447 that I would assume is included in that contract price. So I was wondering if there's any clarification on that.
Okay. Well, Lewis is.
Yeah, that's for the next meeting.
Yeah, Lewis is on vacation, so.
Yeah, Lewis address those. And at the next meeting, you can also email it to you as well.
Okay, I can send him an email tomorrow. Thank you.
Yep, you will hear back until at least Monday though, because you wait till midnight.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions?
Are the other things that we were hoping to hear about that were in the discussion part of the minutes also probably not going to be heard about? The basketball court, with the Modern Woodsman.
Yeah, I had followed up with the basketball one. Let me pull that email. Okay, let's see. The short of it is it was valid. Let me pull it up though.
I think I asked as well, and I think what they said was that the PTO and MWA paid for half, and then the charge that we saw on the warrant was the other half.
Yeah, I've got it here. So the total cost was $14,000. The MWA and PTO paid $10,000. The other $4,000 came from a different line that we had at Wells Village School from ASP. And apparently it had to be processed that way. So we paid $4,000, PTO and MWA paid $10,000.
Okay.
And the other thing was about the water system and whether or not and I guess Chris was going to look into this, whether that was a district-wide stipend or was it just for Wells Village School?
It is a district-wide stipend.
Okay.
Carol, can you just remind us what was the basketball renovation? What was that around?
The basketball was $14,000. It was replacing both of the hoops that are in here. The MWA gave us $5,000 if we matched them, which our PTO did.
Yep.
And then the other 4,000 came out of the after-school program fund that was left over from when we did the program in-house. And now it's at Boys and Girls Club, so we kind of put it out there to help pay for other, other opportunities.
Was it the exterior basketball court or was it the one in the gym that you're saying?
No, it's one of the gymnasiums. They're actually can be raised and lowered so that we can
Okay.
better address the needs for our younger kids.
Okay, that was my other question because I was looking during the Wells Fair at the basketball court. Didn't look like it was brand new.
No,
Okay.
no, nothing, Matt. That would be nice.
All right. Any other questions? All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. On to finance, we have the monthly reports. And as I mentioned, in addition to the monthly reports, Lewis did provide the year-end financials in there. And he did share this last week at the SU meeting, but he said that if there were any questions about this, he would answer them when he comes back from vacation as well. So, did anyone have any questions or?
Actually, 30,000, excuse me, the 30,000 repair savings. I thought that came out of a different line that we had for school as an own budget for that we put aside. And that's different from what we use. Well,
Yeah, so this,
so I question why it would be in this. It should have its own, it shouldn't be put there that as savings. It should not, do we have is there a line specifically for repair savings in the budget for both schools? Or do we, each school has that money that we set aside for maintenance?
I would assume that what was budgeted wasn't fully spent, and that whether it be from, there's a Wellsprings budget line, there's a Middletown Springs, and then there's a Wells, maybe all
I'm
the,
assuming this is the one for both schools.
there's three line
Yeah.
items, so it could, maybe it's a total, but I mean, that's a good question for Lewis to confirm. We can follow up that, if that's for, if that's a total for all the repairs. Okay. Anyone else?
This doesn't have or does it have the surplus from, it doesn't, because we haven't decided what to do with it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
The supervisory.
Yes. And so, in the materials is the SU's, year-end surplus as well. Which is 30,000 for the general fund and 20,000 roughly for the special ed. But the SU board will decide what to do with that at a future meeting. So, all right. All right, so if there's no other questions on finance, we'll move on to reports. So we have a superintendent's report in the packet. So if anyone had any questions for our superintendent, now would be the time, unless you wanted to add anything or.
No, I think this time of year, we're just getting ready. Buildings up and running, Carol has done a lot with Ernie and staff. We We do know that the redistricting task force met, and largely, in that first meeting was just to assign roles and, who's going to be in charge of what. They meet again on the 19th, so when we meet in September, I'll have more an update in terms of what was accomplished during that meeting. But I know that we do have regular meetings with Secretary Saunders as well, particularly around Act 73, which if you remember in the July board report of the deliverables that Secretary Saunders had laid out. We're receiving an update on where we're at with those Act 73 deliverables in terms of timelines, expectations, and I should have more information for that in my next board report for that as well. And I know that I do believe that the SG board meeting in their corrective my form that the SG board had asked that when I have information here in my board report that I also share that with the administrator who's to meditate and I do have a lot of access to on deliverables or the best steps. Whatever the board's privy to, that's Carol just wants to place in there. Wants to communicate so they're aware of what's going on as well. I know Eric, you said that been some meetings where people work by way around foundation formulas and what that means and the redistricting in terms of where we're at. So there's a lot of misinformation around it. So just trying to do a better job and make sure that people stay in the loop and stay informed. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's so much unknown too with what's going to happen with Act 73. Can only speculate. Okay. No questions? All right. We'll move on to facility report. I don't, George, so we have the report in the packet. I guess if you didn't have anything else to add to this, George, did anyone have any questions about the facility report? If not, I actually had a couple questions. Maybe you know, George, or maybe Jessica knows. But under the water system, I know that they were doing work on the uranium tanks in the system, and it says so. It looks like they started to work on this.
The software, the water software.
Yep. My question is for that cost, that 30,000 cost, is that coming out of the regular repair line? Okay. That was my first question. And then the other question I had was on new concerns where the work was done, where it was leaking in Wells Village School. It says now it's leaking somewhere else.
Yes, so there was a soft rain, that's what we described it, like it wasn't a pounding rain. Every time we get like a hard rain like we got today, there's no leak. We had a very soft, continuous rain, and there's a space. If you're looking at the window space where the slanted part meets coming down, there's a leak in the window itself, and we have somebody, Portland Glass, coming on the 29th. To look at it, and we've been in touch with Wells as well, who's already like helping us out insurance wise with the rest of the project.
Okay.
But we're not doing the drywall until we figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge amount, but it was enough that like it was noticeable that it had like spread around, and we've never seen that before.
Yeah.
So
Well, that clarifies and that answers my question, because the way I read it was that you had someone come in, do work. It didn't leak before, and now it does leak after they did work. So, okay. Gotcha.
Here, do you want to share the slide?
yeah, so I didn't know if the board would want to see. Ernie did like a photo diary of the work that got done, and it's kind of interesting to look at it really because they ended up
Sure.
needing to go deeper, and it's not very long.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Here, still one of
Yeah, so I mean, he actually put like pretty self-explanatory notes on the side of it. They did run into a couple of like cooling problems that they weren't
Hmm.
You can. Yeah, so that's kind of just showing you where we were at in December. Like there would just be huge pools of water, especially after a hard rain. That was what really prompted. We thought that we weren't having as much of a problem. We started to really have like ground melt, snow melt. You could really see where the water was coming in and it was just running. Yeah, they came and they put the temporary pump in to help us.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that.
Showing you like where they put it across the driveway so that it wasn't going to just keep coming back to the same side of the building. That's when they started to dig. And they figured out pretty quickly they had to go much deeper.
Oh,
They actually had to go get a different machine. Just kind of just letting you know what they did to like seal. Probably through that. And they did end up, when they put the other, well, in, we moved the shed and we moved the dumpsters so that there was more of an open space, and they cut back all of the brush so that there was actually a place for it to drain. And it did test it. The third after it was done and we didn't have a problem. They did cut the drive a little bit wider up here too, which is really nice, especially at pickup, because we try and go 2 cars at a time around. So that is actually going to benefit us a little bit.
Is there a maintenance plan for the pump?
I have to ask Arnie what he set up with that.
I mean,
Good question.
you shouldn't have to look at it often,
Right.
but
That's a good question.
on a regular basis.
that's fantastic. That really describes the extent of the work. Nice. All right. Any other questions or anything else you want to add, George?
Just a comment on the GW Savage work at Middletown Springs. He's still trying to get a schedule for the work to be done to replace the drywall. That may take place on the weekend. They've agreed. That's, in the cards. And then also, this should be added to new concerns, I guess. There's a issue with the drop-off driveway where it transitions from pavement to a dirt road. So Ernie's looking into the most cost-effective way to upgrade that.
I think that's it. All right. Great.
That's the hiring.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, one other item. In the past, they've had a plan for a substitute for maintenance staff. And just wanted to know if that could be continued for both buildings.
plan for hiring maintenance staff?
So like
Yeah, but
when we have a custodian out,
Uh-huh.
there's nobody that comes in to replace them. And we actually, I think, are almost set at Middletown, but we have somebody here and Ernie had come up with a modified plan of what that person could do. And we did that earlier in the spring when our custodian was out.
So it's a substitute.
It's kind of like a substitute, but not for the full 8 hours.
Oh, okay.
It's I think, up to 3 hours.
It's kind
And
of
she
like-
didn't normally, but he did it like a really modified.
Yeah, it's just like the needs that have to get done.
Right, right.
For one of the facilities.
Is that similar to like, when Scott was here and there was a need, there were other custodians out and you were able to just hire someone temporarily or something like that? Is that what you're talking about or?
Yeah, I just think it would be helpful, like on a regular basis. I mean, we can cover to a point, but it would just be nice to know that if the person were available, we could hire them that day. And it's only in the event that our custodian is sick.
Yeah, it's not a long term.
It's not a long term, it's not a, for a week or a
We
vacation.
should have an on-call custodial sub, working exclusive with Middletown and Wells, correct?
Yes,
So if one of your custodians is calling sick, that they could then call this person up. I mean, they'd still go through our frontline, through our
Yes.
substance, but it'd be exclusively for use with.
Oh, okay.
and it's not for a full shift by it's just for a couple of hours.
And so in the SU, we do have substitutes for custodians,
That's what I thought.
right? But it is difficult for staff and it's so, a lot of times. So if we, so this would be one we'd be adding to the pool, and this person would, we may find that on days that they're not needed in Middletown Wells, they could go, say, totally to assist or help out as well, so.
Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
makes sense to me because I know in the past,
But we do have subs who have said that they will be one sub, but they were exclusively at this place, that place. So if this custodian would say, I'm looking to help, but because of travel configurations, I wouldn't like really do, let's say maybe holding on town wells, then we would honor that as well.
okay.
Could we do it, pay tax savings, good travel.
So the names of the subs should be given to,
Cindy.
You can share that with Cindy.
Okay.
okay.
Sure will.
Okay. So we're moving on to old business, community engagement. As we have it as a recurring agenda item. So a couple of things around community engagement. One, we still have the email subscription. So I'd say anything we can do to get more of the communities to sign up for that would be best. One thing I was thinking about, ahead of this around community engagement is what we can do, and this kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier with communicating with communities and others about what can potentially happen and what will happen with Act 73. First thing that comes to my mind is, maybe like a front porch forum post. And I think it does, yeah. So I don't know what the board's thought on that. Yeah. Then Amanda, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add for community engagement. I didn't know if she's there. I did have another idea too. In terms of, I would say it's not, it's simple idea. I was driving through, I think it was New York, and I was driving by a school, and they had like one of those digital signs out front of their school, and it said, "School board meeting tonight, tomorrow, whatever it was." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea." And so we have, there's a PTO sign out front here. There isn't anything. And I thought if we had simple, those giant A-frame sidewalk stands that we would just display ahead of our meeting each month, probably a day or two before, and it would just say, one would be here, one would be at Middletown Springs, and one would say, school board meeting tonight at Wells Village School, and the other one would say, here. And then in terms of like the signage and stuff, like I have the capability to make signage. But I don't know, I think this could be also something too that also advertises anything else important the board wants to put out there ahead of a meeting, whether it be like a community engagement or not community engagement, community forum. So anyway, it's just another idea I had around making folks more aware of what's going on with the board, I guess. So I don't know. Anyone else had any other ideas?
I think that's a great idea. I also think Middletown Springs needs a sign. We still don't have a school sign
Like,
at the end of the road. There's nothing. And there's actually a covered stop sign at the bottom of our road.
Oh, that thing.
You are good. Thank you.
They're meeting tomorrow about it.
Tomorrow night,
Yeah,
with the select board.
we talked to the one who does the lawn, and he said that it's a town thing, so I reached out to 2 different members.
Okay,
And they're gonna talk about it tomorrow.
I'll be on the meeting.
Worst comes to worst, I'll bring my lead left.
Up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, did anybody, no, I won't go into that now, but I think, sandwich boards would be great.
Isn't that what we got out there?
I think you guys do.
Remember?
I think it would be great.
Yeah, but I did that for years, and
Right.
I put everything out there that we did. They don't, I don't go this way, I look the other way.
I
So
think
they
they
don't put
do.
them notices out there?
No.
For school
Not
board
for,
meeting?
not for the school board. meeting.
yeah, not,
I did PTO, but I did everything that the school did out there on that side. If it was a board meeting, PTO.
I mean, we can start doing that. That's not a.
That was just me though, but that was a long time ago.
I thought about that too, and I thought, well, if to do that, it would be tasking someone else to do something the school board wants, and so someone else would have to put out all the lettering.
Yeah,
Well, I did
who's,
school board.
I know the PTO, did
But I
that
do that
before, but it doesn't solve the problem of having something at Middletown Springs. So, my thought would just, have whatever we're doing in one, do it identically, and the signs, easy, just throw them out and they could be folded up. And again, this is a school board initiative too, but I'd hate to come up with an idea that's giving someone else extra work to do. Amanda?
I just wanted to add in, I'm sorry, I had bad service earlier, so it kind of glitched. We are up to 196 email addresses that we are sending to. So I feel like that's a pretty good achievement. But also, I'm hoping that with the back to school packets, we get more family email addresses. And when you were talking about additional messaging and such, I wonder if it's worth the board just making a decision that rather than waiting until our next board meeting to send out a special message, if they just assign Eric as the chair to say, hey, if there's something between our monthly messages that we want to send out, Eric can put it together and we can send it out and approve him as our voice. So if there is something different, like with changes in the legislation or things like that, we don't have to wait until another meeting to have a different message approved. I don't know how everyone feels about that, but we haven't had to do it yet, but it might just be something that as changes are coming, it might come up that there's something between meetings that we'd like to try to get out to people. That's the only thought I had.
Are you referring to Act 73 and stuff?
Yeah. And if, we just sent our email on Friday. So if we wanted to send something in, 2 weeks, rather than waiting for the next September meeting, you could approve that message and we send it in 2 weeks if something were to come up. And I'm just using that time frame as an example. Because right now what we have in place is everything that's not the regular monthly message is put together and then approved by the board before it goes out. But if we just named Eric to approve a special message as the chair, then in the event that we have something additional to come up, we could do it more quickly.
I was thinking too that in regards to like, I think when it comes to something that we've already discussed, that's one issue. But like if we're creating some kind of message from the board, there's a little bit more challenges behind that. I would say that,
I would say it would only be for like legislative updates if they change quickly rather than waiting. If there's something we wanted to put out sooner,
Okay.
would be my thought. I wouldn't say like the board invites you to a community forum randomly without discussing that with the board or something. I just meant for as things change within the state, if we should get a message out sooner, they could appoint you to approve it rather than waiting for another meeting. If no one likes the idea, we don't have to either. It's just a thought.
well, I was thinking, based off what you're saying, I was thinking too, that it might be even better to have like maybe myself and like Meredith, so that way work on something that jointly we can put out together. And I hate to
Yeah, my only thought is that in the short run, we probably don't have anything to do. I mean, this would be stuff that might ramp up in March. And then even then, because it's a legislature, it's not going to come out fast. Like, just what we just watched happen with H454, there was this tremendous evolution that went on, and every other week was a different, oh my gosh, this is what they're doing now. And then 10 days later, they changed it. So you don't really want to be putting out messages till it's in stone.
Yeah, and I think because of the short timeline with the redistricting and the changes that are coming, at least communicating that in drafting up something that that we could put on Front Porch Forum and of course email subscription too. That, but yeah, I mean, legislatively, nothing's going to happen there, other than what's already been passed and what's going to happen with, not just the redistricting task force, but also the other task force that's going to be drawing or figuring out representation and for voting and membership, board membership as well. So I think there's a lot of things that.
The only other thing I would add is the rural schools in terms of if they were looking for people to testify, but that could be like an informational thing you could be putting out to the public for any hearings that might be coming up after they release these 3 maps that they are supposed to come up.
Yeah. Well, I would ask, is anyone opposed to at least putting some information? Because I haven't seen anything on our Front Porch Forums in regards to Act 73, but putting some information out there, in the context of what this act does, what's going to happen, and, what's currently happening now and what's going to happen. Because I think and the key part is, and this kind of ties into our last meeting, is, wanting to remain in a supervisory union structure. and what it could potentially mean if the legislature votes on a map that has us in a supervisory district, for example. So, although the GRCSU board, approved a similar statement to ours to remain in a supervisory union, I think the more community members know that, what this could mean, it might be. I think it's just a piece in communicating to the public, like, what could potentially happen, and I know I wasn't involved in like Act 46. I came on after it, but I still have conversations with people who don't know that Wells and Middletown Springs are a district.
Yeah.
So they think our budget is for one school because they don't know, they don't realize, or so I think communication is key either way. And I'm not saying like the front porch forum bit on Act 73 has to be just like a hit piece or a negative showdown. I'm just saying, like, people need to know that this is what it could mean. Yeah, Amanda?
So are you looking for then a motion to be made to have you put together something to put on Front Porch Forum, or do you want us to finalize those words tonight together as a group and then put it on Front Porch Forum? Because I'm 100% comfortable just making a motion to say, let Eric put some words together and put it on Front Porch Forum. But if that's not what you're looking for, then I don't want to do that and throw it at you.
Got it. It was a suggestion that I had. I'm not looking for anything. We don't need to make a motion unless, if people aren't on board with the idea, I mean, just say so. It's fine. I'm just thinking in terms of community engagement and communication that it was an idea that I had that I thought moved us in that same direction. You know what I mean? And I definitely, and something to this magnitude, either way, really shouldn't be one person drafting it. I think that's why I suggested maybe like myself and Meredith, or someone else. Meredith isn't. Given perspectives and so.
I think it's a great idea. I think we should put something out there. Maybe even in the end of our statement on Front Porch Forum, we go back to including the link to the landing page and say, you can also sign up to receive our monthly messages here at the end. And then maybe in a couple months, we put something else out there. I don't think we can share too much information. So I think absolutely we should be putting things on Front Porch Forum and anywhere else that we think they should be.
Oh yeah. Anytime something goes on Front Porch Forum, there's got to be a link to the email subscription. Hands down. I totally agree. Okay. So from what I heard, the sign idea is people are on board with that. There's not any objection to that at all. And then also, myself and Meredith can come up with a Front Porch Forum post around Act 73.
Did we ever approve the state, like Greater Rutland as put out?
We did take a motion on it, but that's on the agenda next. And I can explain that when we get there too, but
That might be the first thing to put on.
oh yeah. Okay, yeah. That would probably make sense too.
And then any information about a potential open forum between Greater Rutland and neighboring SUs also. If it comes to pass.
Okay. And then I had another question for the board too. In regards to, like kind of like a follow-up from our meeting with Meadowy, do folks feel that, another meeting with them, now that, there's actual legislation and, would be, I guess would be worth it or valid or appropriate? Similar to, what we did before, you know, it's basically a discussion on, where our priorities lie and what each board can, get behind, as far as, the changes coming with Act 73.
I
Anyone?
don't think there's any harm in conversation. I'm just not sure what we would get out of it at this point.
Their SU, one of the ones that Greater Rutland is approaching.
Yeah, they're a neighboring district, BRSU.
So I don't know if anyone saw, the Digger had an article on the Woodstock Windsor collaboration and in the both that they've formed a BOCES.
Mhm.
Have we been in any sort of talks with anybody? Because they said they've been talking for 5 years.
We were in discussion, and when the state, and this was through the regional, through our Southwest Vermont
Right.
Association. But then when the state outlined the steps taken, this was a year ago.
Yep.
It was very problematic, and we decided to hold off while we see what happens. But this group, Sherry Sousa, had been talking about this for about 5-6 years.
Yeah, that's what the article
So
said.
there is discussion around regional collaboration around that, but what they look like. I know that there are some of the districts who are more open to that than others in our region.
Yeah, so my question behind that though is starting to try and form a BOCES and then the redistricting task force come in and say, well, all of these districts are going to be
Well, I
one.
think that's I think why we really set this things on hold, because
Yeah,
I think we'll have a better understanding come up spring when we see the maps that have been presented or the map, and then if the map is approved, and then I think once that, then you might see things moving a little bit quicker, because if we see that a map has been approved that has a configuration, then boards will start having conversations with the tenants, happens about how we can debate and begin this process. But still, it's still be a little messy.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of, you know, the BOCES, but I would, just the way things are, it doesn't seem like.
And you know, an SU is a de facto form of both.
Yeah, well, that's what I don't really see a
Correct.
huge difference. It's just bigger. It's
Correct.
a bigger pool to draw from.
More districts, or, but yeah.
So you could.
Slate Valley would benefit from moving into an SU because it would then serve as a BOCES. Right, but Wells, Rutland Town, Fort Valley, all in Idaho, are in a BOCES structure per se.
So you could go from the standpoint of, instead of being reactionary to what happens, is be proactive and move ahead with trying to look into a BOCES situation rather than waiting, because it's just as likely that no map will be approved.
There's a potential.
And that established or establishing BOCES might cause them to consider mapping in that direction.
So there have been discussed, I think this is where, and Eric and I have had conversations, I mean, twice a month with our regional superintendent's group, which is 5 districts. So when Governor Scott laid out that 5-district model, was around the 5 superintendent organizations. And we have had ongoing conversations in the past year about what, if it's not a question of if, now it's a question of when and what they may look like. And so we are meeting on the 25th to really start to talk about, well, if we were asked what would make sense from our perspective of what consolidation would look like, what would that be? So we are starting to kind of just, discuss that and look at, what State Valley would look like, Rutland City, Mill River, our GRSSU, and but there are unique needs within that because you incorporate school choice, and you look at Ira, who doesn't have any schools at all, and what that future would look like. So we are having these conversations. It BOCES is part of that conversation as well. But like I said, when we had this conversation, about a year ago, it really was, I would say, within that group, 2, maybe 3. I think 2 superintendents, and some included, were really interested in this. A third was like, it sounds like a good idea, but others weren't at that time. And I think with turnover, we have new superintendent Mill River, new superintendent at Rutland City, relatively new Rutland East. So there might be more of an interest. But I know there is a hesitancy because of the future holds.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I found rather interesting about the Rural Schools Community Alliance is their willingness to continue to move forward, not in an opposite direction, in a tangential direction, and that they're, rather than just letting things happen. So they are planning forward and trying to be part of what's going forward. I mean, it's not what I would personally have figured a way through, and I just, with our what would be our intention that we approved, it just, we need to get more proactive in communicating with the area. And the BOCES is just one.
And we'll be on
method.
the 25th. We are meeting with 2 members of the Redistricting Task Force as well. Jen Foster, Chelsea Myers, and I think Jay Badan also is going to try to make that. But so I think there is that idea that if we have groups across the state who say, look, here's what makes sense. If you're going to carve us up in this, Southwest Vermont, here's a couple things that make most sense for us. And I think that's just where we're starting to try to just understand what that would potentially look like, just from our perspective. But I know that I believe that the JRCC board meeting was also a conversation around having a community forum, and people understand what this will look like. It's not just because I think there's messages out there. I know I read an article. There's individuals. I'm not going to say names, but individuals who've made comments like, well, we just make this up, highly problematic, and then this sort of install goes away. And I think all this work that people are having conversations with the community forum, the work that, boards are doing, having conversations. I know when this board met with representatives from the BRFU, it really is more in terms of like, if this were going to happen, well, here are some relations we could feel would be better for our kids or our communities. It makes more sense for us. And maybe they will take that into consideration. It's not meant to obstruct and I think in that one article, I think what was taken out of context was really meant to be more of an obstructionist when it wasn't. I think these conversations are really meant to be, how do we really, respect the needs and the wants of our community? Because I still think the big shock that our communities have to understand is that foundation formula, what that truly means, and that the local control around budgeting will be taken away. That's just the reality of that. I think some people believe, if we just start an SU, we still will be able to vote on the budget. No, that's one of the main drivers is this foundation formula. And I think once this map has been presented as approved, or it doesn't get approved, I think we'll have a better understanding about what's the next steps are. See, school construction is being held back a little bit.
Right, and those decisions in order to be made involve school construction.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And that will determine phase of buildings 5, 10 years from now in Wiltshire.
Okay.
Not doomsday, it's just, I think, just need to understand that what's in motion and what they can do to actually maybe influence or, civic.
Ask questions, for sure. Yeah, and I would say to some of the folks on the RSCA, we're actually like, we're there during the Act 46 process. And talking with some of them, they found that, trying to go head on, really they didn't get anywhere back then. And so, and I think the perspective of, trying to provide actual, like, fact-based evidence and to really support what they're saying has made a difference in what's come out of the legislature. So, so anyway, I think kind of off track, just a little bit. So I'm not sure. I heard Amanda, but I'm not sure how the rest of the board feels about meeting with Meadowy again. I think too, additionally, it's tricky because a lot of this is going to come down to SUs, SDs, and so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what anyone else thinks about this, but
I guess you should check in with them. I know they didn't meet last month, so I don't know where they are.
they met yesterday and they're
Okay.
going to talk about the same thing.
Okay.
So I don't know. I haven't heard from Julie if they feel like meeting is worth the time again. But essentially, it's just kind of the same thing as before. I think when you look at, they are part of an SU. And so are we. So what would be best for, as far as like what's happening now, what would be best for a governance structure would be probably the only thing that we could probably really rally behind together. But what would that look like in any kind of, I guess, similar to, advocating to the legislature like we did before, what that would look like, I don't know. So anyway, it's just a conversation that, or just a question about having that conversation. I think there's a lot of other things going on too, but. And then lastly, at the GRCS meeting last week, for those who don't know, last year the GRCSU created a what they call the communication committee, which is kind of like a community engagement committee. And that committee, I think, met a couple times, but the discussion was about keeping the committee and it's, basically what it would serve to do. The board decided to keep the committee, especially in terms of, communicating Act 73 related issues or matters. So it was suggested, because there wasn't a lot of volunteers for the committee at the SU board meeting, that we do something similar that we have for like negotiations and policy, where we have representatives throughout the whole SU. So if anyone would like to voluntarily step up and be part of the GRCSU Communication Committee, let me know. Let me know at least before the next GRCSU meeting, Amanda. And so I would say we didn't settle on the size of the committee, but if it's going to be anything like our other committees, I would say no more than two per board, except for IRA. That'd be one. So, all right.
Does that mean you need one Middletown and one Wells person, or just one Wells Springs person?
Two people from this board.
Okay.
Maximum of two, I would say. I think a lot of it's going to come down to how many people want to do this. And I think depending on how many volunteers there are, I think the board will determine the size of the committee. But it does help too, that you have, representatives from all throughout the supervisory union, from different perspectives as well. So go ahead.
I'd be happy to help out. I'm only hesitant because most of this committee work happens at 3, 4, and 5 o'clock, and I'm not home until 6. So I don't want to say that I'll do it and then have them hold meetings at 4 o'clock when I'm at work. So as long as I'm able to attend, I'm happy to do so, but I can't commit unless I know what time they'd be meeting.
I don't know when the committee meets. I think when they did meet, it was in the evening, but if that's a factor, I would definitely say it's something that the committee sets the time for. So.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely help as long as it's 6 or after.
Okay.
I mean, the members all had jobs, so I don't think they could have met 5 or earlier.
Yeah.
A little bit more flexibility in schedules. Some have a little bit more flexibility in their schedules.
All right. So Amanda, anyone else? Okay. I'll ask Mary too, just in case. Okay. I think that's it for community engagement. If anyone else has anything else to add, now would be the time. And then the last thing on there is the redistricting motion that we made last month. So we kind of left it, we did approve the statement or the motion last month for the task force. But I did put it on here just to confirm that the statement of intent, with the board was what we actually approved, or if we wanted to draft a different statement. I would say that what the SU board approved last week is what is basically the statement of intent. So, yeah, this is just on there just to verify and validate that this is what we're going to send to the task force. And I don't think it's in the materials or anything. Oh, you're looking at the minutes.
I thought it was. The SU statement motion.
No, ours.
Ours is too, I think. Oh, I lost my. Oh. Maybe it is.
I mean, we made very minor edits to it, so it's.
Here's it. Oh, that one. Oh, we lost everybody. Is it the guidance two-pager for next steps? Is that what you're referring to?
No, no, no.
Okay.
Remember the,
So what we specifically said.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just sample stuff.
Yep, the Wellsprings Unified Union School District is to remain within a supervisory union within the larger governance region to the extent practicable under the terms of Act 73.
Yep.
As signed by the governor. I think we took that out.
We did.
Yep.
It is in the packet. I just found it. No,
That's the-
that's the Grigson, yeah.
Yeah, ours isn't in the packet. So that was kind of a oversight on my part, but it is kind of in the minutes here too. But
Oh, from us.
yeah. But I don't think it has, some of those edits, but,
It is quoted on page 5 at the bottom.
yeah. It says under the terms of Act 73, and then we struck out formally H 454 signed by the governor on July 1. So, but I'm pretty sure the rest of it we left as is. And yep. And again, so basically, the question is, is this the statement we want to send? Is basically
So we have not sent this. So
No.
this is what you're talking about, the statement of intent.
which is basically the motion that we made.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, isn't it?
No, I haven't sent it yet.
I thought it was.
No, because when we approved it, at the end of the meeting, I said, well, it says in there, maybe I just confused myself, but it says in there that, that we will submit our statement of intent, or letter of intent to the task force. And so, I interpreted that as okay, we're going to draft a whole letter of intent. And then later on, I was like, well, at the end of the meeting, we can work on that at our next meeting. We don't have to do it tonight, is what I recall. But, and so again, it's on here just to verify that this is what the board wants to send to the task force, what we drafted. Okay.
Send that, just put it in front porch. Forum.
Okay. Okay.
Need a motion?
No, I think,
Send and then put it
Yeah.
in front porch. Forum.
I think, especially if no one objects to it, I think we're good.
Okay.
And then also in the materials too was some Rural School Committee Alliance stuff. And I think I sent this at one of our previous meetings. Some of this information comes through, and I think also they post some of it on their website, but I just forwarded along and put it in the materials for the board to read, so what's going on with the RSCA, and it's one of the easiest ways to kind of do an update. Yeah. So if there's nothing else on the statement of intent, we'll move on to new business. We have the student parent handbook approval. Did everyone read through them? They're in the drive.
Does the Middletown have anything on cell phones?
It does not.
Yeah, I saw it in the Wells, but not in the Middletown.
What we should do is we should just make sure it's consistent. We can just, we'll add that to Middletown.
I think it,
We're gonna work on making our handbooks more consistent.
yeah,
But once we opened them, they're very different and it just became overwhelming. So we're gonna work on that all year.
yeah, I think if it's kind of important, especially since this is the last sort of year that we're on our own for cell phone guidance. And it had been maybe easier to do with elementary school, but either way, clarification for our families would be helpful.
And I'm glad you brought that up too, because I noticed on there that there's the page that talks about bringing toys to school, and it says electronic devices as well, and it says personal electronic devices. So technically, wouldn't a cell phone be a toy? And by that, it kind of contradicts. Like, I know in Wells Handbook it says cell phones go into a certain area, but then it says, you know, personal electronic devices. So I don't know. Like, I would say that with having to have a policy, and I don't even know what that's going to look like. You know, with what they passed in the legislature, there is a prohibition on it. So I don't know.
Be nice to just have, you know,
So
do what you
I
can.
I just found a spot for the verbiage and I'll run it by you guys. I could put it under technology. There is a section
Yeah,
on technology. My thought, I was the cell phone queen in my last school. And so my thought was to put it under discipline. But I was very hesitant because it's an elementary school. And so
There
I
are,
recommend, I would keep it out of this one, because I think it's really not meant to be punitive. You know, I think the rationale behind this really is around having students develop more positive interactions, more healthy relationships, that they can interact, you know, converse, and also just moving them away from just access to social media. Because I know that even though the cell phone policy will not take place until the 26-27 school year, we do have, you know, beginning this fall, restrictions on, you know, using social media, you know, directing students towards social media, things along those lines. So there are some aspects of that. So it's not meant to be necessarily punitive. It's really more just from a health standpoint. It's really what to.
So I think under technology, just
Even if you had a separate section, just subsection, so.
I mean, it's a very vocal group of parents also who,
in Middletown.
in Middleton.
They
Okay.
basically pushed to have the ordinance they're going to have the ban and start.
And we
But they're
both,
not in the school. One of the things I've heard, was the challenge for teachers to have to implement these, rules. So this, I think the guidance you have in the Wells Village kind of takes it out of the teacher's hands
yeah, they don't need another.
because policing it becomes just another thing that.
We have a bit, I think I had one incident last year. And it was immediately just changed my office.
But we've also stated publicly to the group of parents that every school in Greater Rutland has a policy. So it should be there.
Thank you.
Should be there.
I'm just on hers right now. So what I'll do is I'll take a look at the verbiage. I'll put a separate section under technology and I'll just tell you cell phone.
I like how you guys highlighted all the edits from last year. too.
Yeah.
Like,
That helps.
it does. I appreciate it. I mean,
Just out of curiosity, do we actually have a handbook?
Yeah.
Do we have a handbook?
Oh, a physical handbook?
Yes.
So if a parent asks, we will provide it. I keep a hard copy in the office in a pocket in case somebody asks what I need.
It is 50 pages or
It
so.
is. It's a lot. It is. a
Can I
lot.
ask?
What's that?
Can I ask?
You want one?
Yes, please.
Yes, I will certainly get you one.
Okay.
Or before you go, I have one sitting on my desk.
hey, Matt? Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, just one small note about the Middletown Springs handbook. Just logistically about drop off. I know we drop off kids at the front of the school, but there's a note here that kids should go, if they're having breakfast, directly to the side door. So I was curious how that works logistically. The kids will get dropped off and then walk the sidewalk to the side door.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think, and we can play this by ear, I don't think there's enough room to have the cars go down and drop the kids off.
No.
Myself and Miss Swain would be out there just kind of guiding the students down the sidewalk to the multi-purpose room.
So the front door is only open after school starts.
Yes.
Got
So
it.
if a student is late, you're saying?
I think generally speaking, if they would come in through the front door and go directly to the gym, but for lunch, for breakfast, but now it's go through the side door, I think.
So what actually was happening is they were coming into the front door, going to their classrooms and eating breakfast in the classroom. And so in order to avoid any food in the classrooms, we want them going to the multi-purpose room. They eat there and then they get sent up to their classrooms. It was also a problem. I spoke with Corey and a couple of teachers in June when I went there, that the student start time is 7:45 and the teacher start time is 7:45. And you know, we can't say, make sure you're here at 7:40 so that you're ready at 7:45. So that was a hiccup, and I did not want to change the start of school time.
Thank you.
I also just want to mention that since favorite board handbooks are, you know, they can be revised at any time during this year. Just, you know, as we work through procedures and just as, you know, Matt just started the conversation, we find that after 3 weeks, there might be a better way of handling this or doing this. So we will update. And I think as part of the principal report said, if there ever were to be an update to a handbook, they would just mention that in their principal report based on feedback or conversation with families or you know, legislation or just something else that they had. So, okay. So something that we just say yes to tonight doesn't mean that that's locked in for everybody to hear that things will change.
Thank you.
I like the chain of command reference on page 18 there. I don't know if it's in both of them, but. And does animal dissection have to be in there? Are we dissecting animals sometimes?
So in the past, we have had
Okay.
great teachers that have done it. In the past couple of years, they haven't, but I just didn't take it out because
Yeah, you never know.
you never know.
I was just curious. I see all the policies in here. I think it's great. And then, so,
Sam, my daughter Sam, when she was here sixth grade.
She did, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
she's a biochemist now, so hey,
wow,
she got a bachelor's degree in biochemistry,
it's awesome.
and she still wants to dissect things. She's weird.
All because of elementary school.
Actually, it was Miss Blue.
No way.
Yes, her and Miss Blue were like, yeah. There's a lot of Miss Blue for that girl.
Yeah, my son was with her. Anyway, oh, okay. Any other questions or concerns about the handbooks? And so do you actually,
We have to approve them?
that's what it says.
I know.
Usually it's just the opportunity to just respond. I mean, so that's.
Yeah.
Especially if they're gonna change.
I think it's more just so that
Yeah.
procedures allow with policy and, you know, throwing something in there that the board's not aware of. Board.
Okay. Well, I think it's good to see what's going on, and I think if there has to be like action and approval, then it kind of hinders the ability to change it too. So, Matt?
Yeah, just a question on what was, do we have SEL last year? Social emotional learning as a special?
I don't know if we had it as a special. I do know that our counselor, Patricia Swain, I just spoke with her last week. She goes into every classroom at least once a month, and that's where she's doing SEL activities. She also does kind of like secretive SEL work, where the students may or may not know that they are getting SEL practice. But for example, she goes into the pre-K room every morning and she has her breakfast in there with those students. And during that time, she's practicing SEL with those children.
I saw it called out, like in the Wells Village Handbook, as a special on Wednesday.
It's not really a special, it's just that's the day that it's scheduled. It's not as long as like the 40-minute special schedule. That's just the day, so teachers are ready and know that they're going to be working with our homeschool coordinator for like a 20-minute slot of time.
Okay, thank you. And was that something you guys did last year too?
Yes, once we have the position filled.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you both. So that's it for new business. So we'll move on to general public comment. If anyone had any comments tonight, for the second time,
5. Quick comment.
5.
Questions, comments?
Okay. Go ahead, Marcia.
So Marcia Turner from Rutland Town, just a noise. The cell phone, I just will say that, like, we have had a cell phone policy and procedure for many years for technology, and I think when we first started, it's a little difficult to get the kids to recognize, but it's only from us in middle school, each grade, so all 5th through 8th graders know what their cell phones immediately when they go in. It goes in the little cupboard or a shelf, and that's where they stay. Younger kids, if they have it, it stays in their backpack and doesn't come out. So there's a concern about teachers having to manage it. Like, I'll just speak from experience at my school. Like, when we first started, it was a little hiccupy, but it's old hat, like just being clear with it. So, you guys mentioned you were talking about like putting that information on the front line. Is that what it's called?
Front porch wall.
Oh, sorry. But you guys also talked about Chris's information. So I'm wondering if that information that he sends, if that's the stuff that you might want to send out through there for information about Act 73. I know you were thinking about creating something. I just know that from last week's GRCSU and then tonight, a little discussion about what Chris puts as talking points and updates. It seems to be quite clear. So I didn't know, maybe thinking about utilizing that information as your go-to for information. And the discussion with Meadowy, GRCSU decided last week to want to branch out to neighboring. Is this a hindrance on what their plan is wanting to do? I'm wondering, because I was at Rutland Town School Board meeting last night, and they had no conversation about like reaching out or talking to any other districts or anything. So I just was, I know that GRCSU plans on hopefully reaching out and having a discussion, I think with the chair, the superintendent, and other chairs, superintendents. And
So I know where we're really going. I just want to clarify. So the conversations that superintendents are having, that board may have, are really looking to see, like, I always look at July 1, 2020, what does this all look like? And the reason I use that is the timeline that the governor has laid out. And I think conversations that boards are being encouraged to have, that superintendents are being encouraged to have, the community members are being encouraged to have, is what would that look like? What makes sense to them? So it's not necessarily as if people are looking to be prior to July 1, 2020. It really is, as we position or we look at regionally what that may look like, just engage in this conversation about what's next, particularly around because I know that Willow Springs and Rutland Town have school choice, while other districts may not. So therefore, there's another conversation that they may be having with other districts that share that same it's concern around what happens with school choice. What happens if we move into a district that has a high school, do we lose school choice, or for an SU, does that limit? So those are just conversations that people are having. So I just want to clarify, because I know that I'm saying we're having a conversation. It really is more in terms of providing information to the redistricting task force to say, here's some food for thought. But at the end of the day, someone else is going to make a decision what this all looks like, and still has to be voted on by the legislature. So even if their map is approved, people still have the opportunity to talk with their representatives, senators, provide feedback. And so it's still, it's a very long, drawn out process. But I think people are just trying to look at, as Meredith said earlier, we could just sit back and just say, well, hope this doesn't hurt. Or we're going to look and say, well, really what's best for our communities, for our kids is, I think there's just a lot that we feel, educational equity, equality, just as opposed to operational efficiencies. So I think there's just a lot of conversations. So sorry, I just want to clarify. So if someone were just looking at home, it's not just,
that's
well,
fine.
look at the scatter, or just, the lights turn on. So it's really just what makes sense for them.
Yeah, that's fine. And, just for additional, because I don't know if you're aware, like, the chair of the Meadow East School District and I had a conversation, and it was just back when the first legislation came out, the proposal with 5 mega districts, and the idea behind that is what can both boards get behind that we could advocate for to the legislature and try and influence what's coming out. And that's what that was about. And so the idea tonight was if the board wanted to extend and keep doing that. So
I'm 100% behind the proactive. I think that's 100%. I think that's great. I just remember last week's conversation, I thought a board member there talked about discussions behind closed doors. Do you remember that? Like there was a comment made in reference to that at that year's. I don't, like, somebody said they want to make sure it's like out in the open and not,
yeah, I don't know what that's about.
And when you guys talked about meeting in that week, that just triggered in my.
We had a public meeting with them and it was recorded.
But yeah, no, I'm not accusing,
Yeah.
I'm saying that just that comment stuck out in my head.
No, I think that statement had something to do with Act 46.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Not wanting to repeat some of what went on.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood that. Thank you for that. And then the last thing was, do you guys, your surplus, do you have, your surplus for the end of the year? You didn't state it.
Oh, yeah.
What?
I know that the GRCSU had a surplus. We should have a little heads up for 30,000.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yourself.
Yeah, 121,000. Yep. $121,000.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. $121,180.25. Sorry.
Thank you. All my friends.
On the business manager's report.
Yeah, I would, yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay. No problem. Any other public comment tonight from anyone online? Okay. That's all we have. Our next meeting, September 10th at Middletown Springs. And any agenda items, just let me know. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Nobody has anything else?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Sue. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:24.